Be me, Damien, lead 3D artist at a game dev studio. Been here since the beginning. I literally sculpted the cobblestones and gargoyles that made our first game famous. We weren't some massive corporate machine. We were a small, tight-knit crew that somehow struck gold. Our thing was dark, brutal, atmospheric action RPGs. Think Souls-like, but with our own unique, gritty flavor. Our fans were loyal because we didn't treat them like idiots. We made games we wanted to play. The office was our sanctuary, a place filled with nerd paraphernalia, whiteboards covered in insane scribbles, and the constant hum of powerful PCs. My inner circle, the guys who really made the ship sail, were Luis and Raul. Luis was our marketing chief, a charismatic madman who understood gamers better than they understood themselves. He could craft a trailer that would get millions of views overnight. Raul was our lead producer, the unflappable anchor in our sea of creative chaos. Artists and programmers could promise the moon. Raul was the guy who actually built the rocket and made sure it launched on time. We were a well-oiled machine for almost a decade. We just worked. We released hit after hit. The CEO was happy. We were happy. The fans were ecstatic. Life was good. Simple. You showed up. You did good work. You got rewarded. Meritocracy in its purest form. Then the email landed in everyone's inbox. It was from the CEO, a long corporate speak memo about entering a new phase of growth and evolving our company culture for the modern world. At the bottom was the announcement: we had a new HR director. Her name was Amalia. The attached photo showed a woman with a very forced professional smile and that look in her eyes that screams, "I find everything problematic." MFW. I read the email, just another corporate suit, whatever. How much damage could one HR person do? We were about to find out. Her first week was quiet. She just walked around observing. Didn't talk much. Just watched us with this analytical stare, like a biologist studying a strange new species of insect. You could feel the vibe in the office shift. The casual banter got a little quieter. The jokes weren't as edgy. It was like a cold front moving in. Then came the first mandatory all-hands meeting she organized. She stood at the front of the room with a PowerPoint presentation behind her. The title slide just said, "Building a Better Us." For the next hour, she talked not about games, not about our projects, but about us. She used a lot of buzzwords, unpacking our privilege, unconscious bias, creating safe spaces, and my personal favorite, dismantling systemic toxicity. She kept talking about how the gaming industry, and our studio by extension, was a hotbed of toxic masculinity. I looked around the room. Most of the guys were just staring blankly, their souls visibly leaving their bodies. A few were trying not to laugh. Kate, one of our best and quietest game designers, was just doodling in her notebook, completely checked out. She always kept her head down and just did amazing work. Amalia finished her presentation with a promise to implement new policies and training to correct our culture. The CEO, who was standing in the back, clapped awkwardly. He had this desperate look on his face, like a man trying to prove he was one of the good ones. The next few weeks were a blur of new rules. A new code of conduct was issued. It was 20 pages long and basically outlawed any kind of joke that wasn't pre-approved by a committee of saints. Anonymous reporting channels were set up. Suddenly, everyone was walking on eggshells, afraid that a misinterpreted comment could lead to a formal complaint. The first real storm cloud appeared during an art review for our new DLC. We were designing a new set of armor for a female warrior class. It was badass, ornate, detailed, with a design that was both imposing and feminine. It fit our game's established art style perfectly. I was presenting the concept art and the 3D models. The team loved it. Amalia was there sitting in the corner observing. She hadn't said a word the entire meeting. When I finished, she cleared her throat. "Damien," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, "can you walk me through your thought process for this design?" I explained the lore, the cultural influences within our game's world, the need for a recognizable silhouette, standard art direction stuff. She just nodded slowly. "I see. So you didn't consider how this design perpetuates the male gaze?" I had no idea what she was talking about. I asked her to clarify. She went on a 5-minute lecture about how the armor, despite being full plate, still had a slightly cinched waist and a defined chest plate. According to her, this was objectification and catered to a toxic male fantasy. I tried to argue. I told her it was a fantasy game, that it was about creating a power fantasy for everyone, and that the design was objectively less revealing than 99% of female armor in other games. She just smiled, a cold, empty smile. But it's not about what other games do. It's about what we choose to do. We need to be leaders in this space. She then suggested we redesign it to be a completely shapeless, androgynous block of metal. Something that would empower female players by removing any trace of femininity. The room was silent. You could hear a pin drop. I finally just said it. "Look, Amalia, with all due respect, our fans would hate that. It goes against everything we've built. It's bland. It's cowardly. And it's a betrayal of our artistic vision." Her smile never wavered. "Thank you for your feedback, Damien. Your passion is noted." That was it. The meeting ended. 2 days later, I got the email. Meeting with the CEO. My stomach dropped. I knew what this was. I walked into his glass-walled office. He was sitting at his massive desk, looking uncomfortable. Amalia was sitting in the chair next to him, perfectly composed, holding a file. The CEO couldn't even look me in the eye. He mumbled something about the company moving in a new direction. Then Amalia took over. She spoke in a calm, professional monotone, explaining that my outburst in the art meeting was the latest in a pattern of aggressive behavior. She said I was resistant to feedback and that I was fostering a hostile and non-inclusive environment for my colleagues. It was surreal. She was twisting my defense of our own game into a personal failing, a character flaw. I was fired, effective immediately. They had security escort me back to my desk to pack my things. It was the most humiliating experience of my life. I had poured my soul into this place for 10 years. My art, my ideas, they were the DNA of our games, and I was being thrown out like garbage because I wouldn't make a gender-neutral tin can. As I was walking out, box in my hands, Luis and Raul caught me by the elevator. They were furious. Luis wanted to go into the CEO's office right then and there. Raul, ever the pragmatist, held him back. Raul just looked at me and said, "This is wrong, man. We'll figure something out." I just shook my head. "It's over. Watch your backs." I went home and just sat there in silence for hours. It wasn't just losing a job. It felt like a betrayal, like the world had gone insane and I was the only one who didn't get the memo. The next person on the chopping block was Louise. I heard about it from Kate a few weeks later. She started messaging me on the side, telling me what was going on inside. Luis was in charge of the marketing campaign for our upcoming game. He had a brilliant concept. It was dark, mysterious, and used in-game lore to create a viral ARG for the fans. It was pure genius. Amalia saw the campaign proposal and immediately shut it down. According to Kate, Amalia told Louise that his campaign was exclusionary because it only appealed to our core, predominantly male demographic. She said it was gatekeeping and used problematic language. She demanded he scrap the entire thing and create a new campaign focused on accessibility, emotional safety, and appealing to a broader, more casual audience. Luis, in his typical fashion, didn't hold back. He apparently created a detailed presentation showing exactly why her approach would fail. He had metrics, market research, historical data. He proved with facts and logic that abandoning our core audience would be financial suicide. Amalia wasn't interested in facts. She accused him of being combative and unable to think outside the box of traditional male-centric marketing. The CEO, of course, sided with her. Luis was given an ultimatum. Either adopt Amalia's marketing strategy, or he could leave. Luis chose to leave. He typed up his resignation letter, sent it to the entire company with the subject line, "So long and thanks for all the sanity," and walked out. His departure sent a shockwave through the office. Luis was the heart and soul of our community outreach. He was the face of the company to the fans. Now he was gone, and the guy they hired to replace him was some fresh-faced marketing grad whose main experience was promoting a mobile game about cute animals. The final nail in the coffin was Raul. Raul was the last pillar holding everything up. With me and Luis gone, the art and marketing were already in chaos. But Raul was a production wizard. He could still theoretically ship a game, but Amalia's new policies were making his job impossible. She had implemented mental health days that people could take with no notice, focus groups for every minor decision, and mandatory weekly sharing circles that ate up hours of development time. Productivity had cratered. Deadlines were being missed left and right. Raul tried to restore order. He wasn't a tyrant. He was just a professional. He reintroduced daily stand-ups, started tracking milestones again, and tried to hold people accountable for their work. He was trying to save the project. Amalia saw this as a direct attack on her new empathetic workplace culture. She wrote a formal complaint against him, accusing him of promoting crunch culture and causing undue stress and anxiety to the team. She managed to find a couple of the new hires, the ones she had personally brought in, to back up her claims. Raul didn't even get a chance to defend himself. He was at home, sick with the flu, when he got a notification for a mandatory video call. It was the CEO and Amalia. They fired him over a shaky video connection. Kate told me the atmosphere in the studio the next day was like a morgue. The old guard was gone. The 3 people who had built that company from the ground up had been systematically purged in the space of a few months, all in the name of progress. In their place was Amalia's hand-picked crew of replacements. The new lead artist had a portfolio that looked like it belonged on a children's cartoon network. The new marketing guy thought a good slogan was, "Play your way." And the new producer's main skill was brewing artisanal coffee and talking about his feelings. The original team was scattered. I was freelancing from home, trying to rebuild my career. Luis was taking a long overdue vacation. Raul was already getting offers from other, smarter companies. We had a group chat. We called it The Survivors. Kate was our spy on the inside. Her messages started to paint a grim picture. The art direction was a mess. The new lead was trying to force a bright, colorful, sanitized art style onto our dark and gritty game engine. The results were jarring and hideous. Kate sent me a screenshot of a new character model. Our once terrifying necromancer now looked like a friendly librarian in a purple robe. It was an abomination. Marketing was a joke. The new guy launched a Twitter campaign with a hashtag that was so generic it was immediately hijacked by bots and spammers. Our official account was a laughingstock. Production had completely stalled. Without Raul cracking the whip, nobody was hitting their deadlines. The new producer's solution was to have more meetings about why deadlines were a form of institutional pressure. The old veterans who were still there had completely disengaged. They did the bare minimum to collect their paychecks. The passion was gone. Why bother going the extra mile when you could be fired for having the wrong opinion? The company was rotting from the inside out. Animalia was standing in the middle of it all, smiling, convinced she was a hero. She genuinely believed she had saved the company from itself, that she had single-handedly cured the disease of toxic masculinity. She couldn't see that she was the disease. The CEO was completely blind to it all. He was getting reports from Amalia telling him that morale had never been higher and that the team was more collaborative than ever. He was living in a fantasy world she had constructed for him. But reality has a way of knocking on the door. And for our old studio, that knock was about to sound like a battering ram. The big annual games convention was coming up, the one where all the major studios show off their new projects. For us, it was always our biggest moment of the year. Luis would craft a masterpiece of a trailer. We'd have a playable demo that would blow people's minds, and the hype would carry us through to launch. This year was different. Kate told me the demo was in a catastrophic state, a complete and utter train wreck. The new art was clashing with the old, creating a visual nightmare. The code was unstable, full of bugs the new hires didn't know how to fix. The gameplay itself was boring, as all the problematic, challenging elements had been smoothed over and dumbed down. The team knew it was a disaster, but nobody dared to say anything. Who wanted to be the next Damien, the next Louise, the next Raoul? So they just kept their heads down and pretended everything was fine. Amalia, who knew nothing about game development, saw no problems. She thought it looked vibrant and welcoming. A week before the convention, the marketing team released the official reveal trailer. It was 2 minutes of generic, boring gameplay set to some soulless corporate stock music. It showed nothing of substance. It had no identity. The reaction from the internet was brutal. Our fans, the ones who had supported us for years, felt betrayed. The comment section on YouTube was a war zone. What have you done to our game? This looks like a cheap mobile knockoff. R.I.P. to a once great studio. The video racked up an infamous dislike ratio. It became a meme in the gaming community, a perfect example of a beloved developer losing its soul. Me, Louise, and Raoul watched it all from our group chat. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash. It was heartbreaking, but there was also a dark, grim sense of vindication. This is what they wanted. They got it. But the trailer was just the beginning. The real catastrophe was yet to come. The public demo at the convention. The one that would be played by journalists, influencers, and our own publisher. The publisher, our main source of funding, was getting nervous. They had seen the trailer's reception. They were starting to ask hard questions. The CEO, finally waking up from his woke-induced coma, started to panic. He called an emergency meeting. He demanded to know why the demo was in such a rough state. He wanted answers. And that's when Amalia made her final, fatal move. Instead of admitting fault, she doubled down. She blamed everything on us, the old guard. She claimed that the demo's problems were because of the shoddy, undocumented code and toxic design philosophies that I, Luia, and Raoul had left behind. She said we had intentionally sabotaged the project before we left, leaving behind a technical and cultural minefield that her new, brilliant team was struggling to clean up. She was painting herself as the victim, the brave reformer, fighting against the ghosts of the past. And the CEO, spineless to the very end, bought it. He needed a scapegoat. And she had just served 3 of them up on a silver platter. But he didn't know that Kate was in that meeting. And she was recording everything. So Kate had the recording, a perfect, crystal-clear audio file of Amalia throwing me, Luis, and Raoul under a bus the size of a continent. She sent it to our group chat with a single message. What should I do with this? Luis, ever the firebrand, replied instantly. Leak it. Leak it everywhere. Burn them to the ground. Raoul was more cautious. Think about your own position, Kate. They'll know it was you. You could be sued into oblivion. I was torn. I wanted justice. I wanted the world to know what really happened. But I didn't want Kate to sacrifice her career for us. We talked about it for an hour. Kate was adamant. She said she couldn't stand by and watch Amalia destroy the company's legacy and then blame the very people who built it. She told us she had a plan. She wasn't just going to dump it on the internet. She was going to be smart. She knew a guy, a well-respected independent gaming journalist who ran a popular YouTube channel. He had a reputation for being ruthless but fair. He hated corporate spin and had a massive, loyal audience. Kate sent him an anonymous email with the audio file attached. The subject line was simple: "The real story behind studio names collapse." Then we waited, and the convention began. It was a public execution. We weren't there, of course, but we watched the live streams. It was morbid curiosity, like watching your childhood home burn down. The studio's booth was sterile and lifeless. None of the old passion, none of the energy. Just a few new hires and branded t-shirts looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. The demo was playable on a dozen stations, and it was worse than we could have imagined. The frame rate was abysmal. Characters clipped through walls. The new inclusive character models looked completely out of place against my old gritty environment art. It was a visual mess. The combat, once our pride and joy, felt floaty and unresponsive. They had removed all the challenge, all the weight. You just mindlessly mashed a button. The first major streamer who played it was trying to be polite. You could see the pain in his eyes. He'd say things like, "Oh, interesting new art direction." While his chat was spammed with low and KW, he encountered a bug where an enemy just stood there T-posing while he hit it. He just sighed. "Well, folks, it's a demo. They'll probably fix that." But they wouldn't. We knew they wouldn't. They didn't have the talent. The publisher representatives were seen at the booth on the first day. They stood in the back, arms crossed, watching the train wreck. They didn't smile once. By the second day, they were gone. The negative buzz spread like wildfire. #GameNameDisaster was trending on Twitter. Reddit was filled with threads dissecting every awful frame of the demo. Memes were being made. Our legacy was being turned into a joke in real time. The new marketing guy tried to do damage control. He posted a cheerful corporate message about how they were listening to all the valuable feedback. He was ratioed into another dimension. The top reply had 10,000 likes and was just a picture of a dumpster on fire. Through all of this, Amalia was apparently a rock. Kate told us she was walking around the office telling everyone that the negative reaction was expected and that it was just the toxic core audience resisting positive change. She was completely detached from reality. A general admiring the beauty of a mushroom cloud. The CEO was a different story. Kate said he was a ghost. He was hiding in his office, not talking to anyone. The panic was finally setting in. On the third day of the convention, the bomb dropped. The journalist Kate had contacted published his video. It was a 30-minute investigative piece. He started by talking about our studio's history, our beloved games, our reputation. Then he played clips from the disastrous demo, echoing all the fans' complaints. And then he said it. But the story here isn't just a bad game. It's about a company that intentionally destroyed itself from within. He played the audio. He played the entire unedited clip of Amalia in that meeting. Her calm, cold voice explaining how Damien's aggressive behavior, Lewis's male-centric marketing, and Raoul's culture of pressure were the real problems. He played the part where she blamed us for sabotaging the project. The journalist then broke it all down. He connected the dots. The timing of our firings, the hiring of unqualified replacements, the sudden, catastrophic drop in quality. The story was no longer about a bad demo. It was about a hostile, ideologically motivated takeover. It was about competence being punished and ideology being rewarded. It was the exact story the audience had been feeling in their gut for years, now laid bare with undeniable proof. The video exploded. It hit 1 million views in a few hours. It was shared on every gaming forum, every subreddit, every corner of the internet where people cared about games. The narrative was set in stone. We weren't disgruntled ex-employees. We were victims. We were the professionals who had been purged. The backlash against the studio was biblical. It was no longer about the game. It was about the injustice. Fans were demanding answers. Other developers were privately messaging us their support. Our story had become a symbol for everything wrong with the industry. The publisher acted fast. They released a public statement. It was brutal. They announced they were terminating their contract with the studio and pulling all funding effective immediately. They didn't just say it was for financial reasons. They explicitly mentioned a catastrophic failure of project management and a hostile shift in studio culture that is incompatible with our values. They were publicly disowning the studio to save their own skin. That was the kill shot. No publisher meant no money. No money meant no studio. Kik told us what happened next. The CEO called Amalia into his office. For the first time, he didn't look scared or weak. He looked like a man who had already lost everything and had nothing left to fear. Amalia walked in, still confident, probably ready to spin another tale about how this was all part of the process. He didn't let her speak. He apparently just looked at her and asked a simple question. "Are you happy?" She started to give one of her corporate speeches about necessary transitions. He cut her off. He told her he had just gotten off the phone with the publisher. He told her the company was finished. 15 years of work, gone. His life's work, gone. He told her that he had read the comments online. He had seen the journalist's video. He finally understood. He told her, "You didn't fix our culture. You ripped out its heart and replaced it with a void. You took a team of passionate creators and turned them into a collection of terrified employees who were more afraid of using the wrong pronoun than shipping a good game." She tried to argue. She started talking about lawsuits, about wrongful termination, about creating a hostile environment for her. He just laughed, a hollow, broken laugh. He told her, "What are you going to sue me for? The desk? The chairs? There's nothing left. You've already burned it all to the ground. You won. Congratulations." He fired her. Not with an email, not with a formal meeting, just a simple "get out of my building." Her professional reputation was incinerated. She became a pariah. The story was so public, so damning, that no studio in the industry would touch her. Her name became a verb among developers. To get amalad meant to have your project destroyed by an incompetent, ideologically driven manager. The studio's closure was announced a week later. The email to staff was short and bleak. Everyone was laid off. The final paychecks would be sent out. The doors would be locked at the end of the month. The IP, our beloved game world, was to be sold off in a bankruptcy auction to the highest bidder. It was a tragic, pathetic end. We, the survivors, had a video call that night. Me, Louise, Raul, and now Kate, who was finally free. We didn't celebrate. It felt somber. We had been proven right, but the cost was the company we had loved and built. We poured one out for the old studio and talked about what was next. About a week after the dust settled, Raul got a phone call. It was from the publisher, the same publisher that had just pulled the plug on our old studio. The executive on the phone was the main guy we used to deal with. He was blunt. He told Raul, "We messed up. We should have listened to our gut when we saw your team being dismantled. We backed the wrong horse." He then made an offer that made us all sit up straight. He said the publisher had seen the overwhelming support for us online. They saw the passion the fans still had for our style of game. They wanted to fund us, not as employees, as partners. They wanted to give us the seed money to start our own independent studio. Complete creative control, no corporate oversight, no HR department run by ideologues, just us, a budget, and a single mandate. Make the game you were trying to make. Raul called me and Luis immediately. We had a meeting that afternoon at a coffee shop. The decision was a no-brainer. It was the dream, a second chance on our own terms. We said yes. Our first call was to Kate. We offered her the role of lead game designer. She accepted before we even finished the sentence. We spent the next few months in a whirlwind of legal paperwork and logistics. We founded our new company. We kept it simple. No fancy name, just a reflection of our new philosophy. We leased a small, modest office. No glass walls, no corporate art. Just desks, computers, and a big whiteboard. The news of our new studio got out, and our inboxes were flooded. Dozens of our old talented colleagues from the original studio were looking for work. We started hiring. We picked the best of the best. The ones who, like us, just wanted to make great games without the politics. Our team was small, but it was a killer team. Everyone was a veteran who had been through the fire. A few months later, we were ready to announce our existence to the world. Luis, back in his element, crafted a simple but powerful announcement, a short teaser video. It was just a black screen. You could hear the familiar sounds of a blacksmith's hammer on an anvil. Then a single glowing rune appeared on the screen. A symbol reminiscent of our old games, but new, evolved. Then text faded in. It showed the name of our new studio, and below it, our first project's title, a spiritual successor to the games we were famous for. The final text on the screen was our new company motto. No agendas, just games. The internet lost its collective mind. The announcement video was the #1 trending video on YouTube within a day. The fan response was overwhelming. It was pure, unadulterated hype. We launched a crowdfunding campaign to supplement the publisher's funding and to give fans a way to be directly involved. Our goal was ambitious. We hit it in under an hour. Every gaming news site covered the story. Fire Devs formed new studio, announced spiritual successor to beloved RPG. It was the ultimate comeback story. MFW. I'm sitting here now in our new office. It's late. The rest of the team has gone home. I'm looking at a 3D model on my screen. It's a new monster. It's grotesque, detailed, and completely unapologetic. The kind of thing Amalia would have had a meltdown over. Raul is over on the whiteboard mapping out the production schedule. Louise is on a call, probably charming another journalist. Kate is quietly testing a new combat mechanic. A small smile on her face. It's not the same as the old days. It's better. We're not just employees anymore. We're owners. We're creators in control of our own destiny. We learned a hard lesson that talent and passion aren't enough if the system they exist in is broken. That sometimes you have to lose everything to be free. They tried to erase us. They called us toxic, problematic, relics of a bygone era. They threw us out. But they forgot one simple truth. Ideology doesn't build worlds. It doesn't write code. It doesn't create art that resonates with millions of people. People do. And we're just getting started.